Good morning, good afternoon, and of course, good evening, and welcome to the UK Chinwag Pinball Podcast thingy number, I don't know, 34, 35, something like that. I missed last week. Apologies. That being said, there's not an awful lot going on in the world of pinball, but we do have Scott coming up again at some point soon. We've also got James Majestic Pinball coming up as well. I've just noticed my hammers have slipped down over there. Have you noticed? They've turned upside down, which is quite synonymous with our West Ham are doing at the moment, but I won't bore you with all that type of thing. Today, we've got somebody, and I think the timing is absolutely perfect. I want to thank Ian, by the way, for getting this person over to his house so I could do this chinwag with him. The timing is absolutely perfect. You would have noticed myself and Craig Pullen recently having a chat about the tournament over in California at the Indisc World Open. We got somebody here who did pretty damn well in that particular event, and I'm going to bring him in now. Of course, it is our very own Andy Foster. Hello, Andy. How are you, mate?
Hello, I'm all good. I'm all well, thank you.
Excellent. Well, let's get straight to it. Congratulations. That was the first day of the Indisc Championships when you came third, didn't you, in the classics?
It was, yeah. It was. I kind of took a lead quite early on. It was a target match play. First person to get to 30 points won the competition. So I ended up with quite an early lead. Unfortunately, I just slipped right at the end.
Well, it was very fine margins. How many of the games did you play? Did you know? How many of those games did you know that you had to play?
I played every game before. Yeah, I managed to play at some point. I'd played each game before. Some of the settings obviously were different from what I've been used to, but I've managed to play each game. One of the games was Paragon, which is one of the games which I have. So
you own it. You own a Paragon, do you?
I do. Yes. Yeah.
How did you do on that particular one? Did you do well on that game?
I did pretty well in the classics qualifying on that. It played quite nice one. The one over at Indisc. It played quite similar to mine. So
I hear they were set up. Craig said that a lot of the games were set up quite brutally, quite hard. Is that right?
They were, yes. They were quite difficult. They were on the hardest settings. But that's kind of like how I have my game set up. So that's kind of the game type what I'm used to.
So Paragon was only in the qualifying, so you had to pre-qualify before you got to the finals in the target match play.
No, you didn't have to. Sorry, you didn't have to qualify in the target match play. You had to. You just went in target match play. You just went straight in. But the I've jumped ahead to thinking about the classics.
That's all right. We'll get into all that. Were you expecting to do as well as you did? Because obviously that was the first event in the weekend, and not obviously you finished third, but there was a point when you were leading it. How did nerves play a part? How were you feeling at that point?
To be honest, I was really happy. I was really happy with when I was leading all the way. I got to the comfortable. I felt comfortable quite early on in the competition, which helped me calm down my nerves. Just towards the end, I got a bad game. I think it was on Abracadabra. I got a bad game, which was 3 games towards the end. It was annoying because that was when like the goal was in striking distance, but because I had a bad game on that, it kind of made others had crept up. The nerves, the tiredness had all kind of crept in by that time. But even so, the final game was on Party Animal. I think that was streamed.
Yeah.
Yes, yes, I was, and unfortunately, yes, I was quite nervous by that point because that was the game which I needed to win to stop the opponents getting the 30 points.
Was that the one where the pop bumpers were at the top, and each time you hit it, it got 100 points? Was that right?
Yes, the pop. It's the one where the ball enters into the saucer.
Yes, yeah, absolutely.
At the top, and you've got, and then and then it kicks it from the saucer into the pops. Well, the ball was the other thing on that particular game. What was making me nervous though was as I was firing the balls into the saucers, they were bouncing out. So it just played really, really tough. And of course, when the balls are like actually bouncing out of the saucers, that was making me nervous because I thought I'm going to actually make the shot. It's going to come back at me, and I'm going to lose it.
Well, I thought you had a really. I think if that was the one I was watching one on the stream. I thought you had some really couple of unlucky drains down the left. It was because it was very close. When I said fine margins, I mean I thought you were really close to winning that.
I was, and I must admit, I was slightly disappointed. I was slightly disappointed not to win after leading pretty much all the way through. But then again, overall, the third place, I should be real. I should and kind of am really happy with that.
No, so you should be. Did you know? Were you aware of there was a lot of goodwill in the UK for you? Were you getting messages when you were over there?
Not so much during the competition because I had to stay focused, through the competition. But when the competition had finished, I was overwhelmed with the nice support and the messages I've been getting from home. I had to catch up on everything.
Yeah, I mean, there was a lot of people rooting for you. Yeah, absolutely. I remember going onto the forum. I think I was on the forum until about 1:15. And then I went to bed. I got up in the morning about 8:00 in the morning, at 7:00 in the morning, something like that. And I saw that there had been posts on there. I noticed Craig had posted at 4 in the morning. There was a couple of other posts as well from people. I know Wayne was really following it as well. And there were 4 or 5 people on there who were clearly really following your progress. And, we were really rooting for you, mate, on that one. But were you, how early before that? You said about tiredness. Obviously, there would have been jet lag as well. When did you get in? How long before that?
When
did you arrive? When did you arrive before the tournament?
We arrived on the morning at the actual competition. We arrived on the morning of the competition, but we had been in LA for 4 days beforehand. So we managed to went out a little bit earlier to get used to the time and get over the jet lag and so on. We kind of hammered the cocktails on the Wednesday night before the competition, which probably wasn't the best idea. But then again, it seemed to be the day when I played my best. So maybe that was a good thing.
Well, it's weird because obviously you're around Ian's house. And Ian, I think Ian got drunk the night before he won his tournament over at David and Claire's. So maybe it's obviously the thing to do. Were you how surprised were you with the result? Because obviously, what was your UK ranking, or what was your world ranking going? I know it's different with the classics and everything, but what was your world ranking going into Indisc?
The world ranking going into Indisc, I think was 40. I was 45th going in. And I was 27th coming out after the after the competition.
You must be very proud of that. You really must be.
I am pleased with that. I must just admit, I wish I could have qualified in the main. I was slightly disappointed not to qualify in the main, but I'm glad I've gone. I feel like it was definitely worth a while.
Listen, it was 100% worth the while. When because obviously you're playing at such a high level, if you're ranked 27th in the world, then it's not like you're seeing lots of people that are a lot better than you. There's not that many people. Do you look at some of the top players? Do you know what they're doing? Is that something you see techniques that you then copy? How is that working for you when you look at the sort of top five or whatever?
Personally, I tend to prefer to play my own in my own style rather than try and copy anybody else. If you try and copy what other people are doing, then it might not match the comfortable way you have to play. To play your own. To play the game. I tend to have my own comfortable ways. I've played pretty much every game. What's out there as far as the electronic ones go. I know what I'm. I kind of know what I'm doing. I just kind of like to get me on play the game and find as I get there, it's whether it's how much of a tilt, how sensitive the tilt is, how high the levelers are set.
So just take a look at the game, take a look at how it's set up, and then change your own game accordingly.
That's right, and how far the outlane posts are set. All these things you can tend to have a look at before you actually take the first ball. That should give you an indication as to how the game's going to play. I find that kind of helps, and to be honest, that's probably one of the things what I should have done more at Indisk in the main. That's what I've done in the past. I kind of just went in the main, given the timings as well. I kind of just went straight in. Maybe I should have paid more attention. Maybe I should have paid a bit more attention to the game. To the game settings.
Well, I listen. I mean, it sounds to me, just from what you've said, that you weren't paying too much attention to who you were playing against. So about the other players, but you're paying attention to the table. You're playing against the pinball machine rather than the other people. What do I know about it? Nothing. But I think that's I think that's probably a good thing to do rather than getting caught up in how good everybody else is playing.
I feel that. Yeah, I do. I feel that way because you don't want to get intimidated by the top players, because also they can have really good games. So can I. They can have really bad games. So can I. You've got to see it. You've got to see yourself more against the table rather than against the opponent.
I really like that. I think it probably helps as well. So I take it you're not somebody that studies the top 10. I take it you don't even know who a lot of these guys are that you're playing against.
I'm just about managing to put names to faces as I started going to more of the world tournaments. I'm just about managing to start putting the names to the faces.
That's amazing. Yeah. What do you? So obviously we'll get into what games you've got at home in a minute and how you got into pinball and that sort of thing. But if you don't have a game and you don't know a game, and you know a game is coming up in a tournament, but you don't know that particular machine, what would you do about that? Would you look online, or would you go and find somewhere near you that's got one?
Oh no, I've gone and find somewhere near me that's got one. Definitely. I don't. The way I like to learn a new game is I like to go and play it physically first myself before I read any rule sheets, before I read any tutorials. I want to play the game myself. You need to learn the essential thing before you start getting caught up on deep rule sheets, which is obviously some of the modern Sterns. They really have the rule sheets about the size of an encyclopedia. You've got before any of that, you need to strip it back down to proper basic pinball, which is learning the feeds. Learning where the shots are, and just getting the general feel for the table before you start learning the rule sheets. if I start to read rule sheets before I've played a game, it'll go straight out of my head. You know, it'll go straight over me. If I've actually played the game, it sticks a lot more. You know.
Yeah, absolutely. No, listen, that makes perfect sense, and particularly if you want to get a physical feel for a game before you get in to any of that other stuff. So how many games have you got at home? I know the only one I definitely know you've got is I know you've got a Wizard of Oz, or at least you had one, because I remember you heard when I saw you at Pinfest, you dropped it on your finger, didn't you?
On my finger, yes, that's right. Just shortly after it was on the return journey home from Pinfest. I was putting it back. I just had myself a new cabin build. I wasn't quite sure of the best. It was up on like a bit of a lake. I wasn't quite sure which was the best way to put them back. To put them back in. Ended up. I was just kind of got a bit overwhelmed. I ended up pushing it in the wrong way and smacked down on my finger, which was not very pleasurable and not something what you want to do.
No, I mean you've chose a bad machine as well there, really, didn't you? I mean it's one of the bigger, heavier machines, that one, I think.
It is. Just thankfully though, it was the front. It was the front end what fell on my finger. So it wasn't the back. It wasn't the back where the weight is. Lucky enough.
Yeah, and what's
made a full recovery. So
well, clearly, yeah, clearly you did. What have you got at home then? What games have you got?
We've currently got 16 machines at home. I tend to keep around about 10 set up at a time now. We've currently got Revenge from Mars. We've got Indiana Jones, the Williams one. We've got Jurassic Park, the new Stern one. I've got Wizard of Oz still. We've got Police Force. We've got Jokers. I've got Haunted House, Black Knight. I'm trying to think now. I've got an Addams Family which I'm due to start working on. I've got and then inside. I'm trying to think. Left in my cabin. And then inside the house, I've got my classics inside the house. I've got Paragon in there. I've got Flash. I've got Monte Carlo, and I've got Banzai Run in there, and Spectrum. And I've just got one little electromechanical which is called Magic City. I try to keep like a variety.
Sure.
I don't tend to stick to one either of games. I like a good spread.
Do you play one game out of that collection? Do you play one game more than the other? Is there one that you sort of feel inclined to go to all the time?
Probably Banzai is the one which I just go back. I just go back to that for more and more. I love that game. That's my favorite. That's my favorite game of my personal favorite of all time.
Oh really? Okay, yeah, I want to say because obviously that's got the back box with the with the flippers in it, and yeah. Has that ever come up in a tournament?
That came up at the Pinball tournament, which we did before. Yes, we had not one but two of those in the banks, in the Pinball banks. Yes, it's quite a. There's quite an adaptive. There's quite a knack to getting the the skill for the back box. Some people ask me, is it actually skill up there, or is it just luck on the back box? Well, no, there is a knack to aiming. It's just completely different from any other game.
Yeah. Do you? It's quite funny actually because whenever I've played it, I'm just getting to the point now where I'm starting to move the machine a little bit, and it was quite funny. And it wasn't actually until I went to a tournament at. No, it wasn't actually. I'll tell you what it was. It was when I saw Matt play. It occurred to me that you could move the machine if the ball was on an upper playfield. So it was Matt Vince. And he started knocking the machine. I thought, I'd never even thought of that. I'd never even thought to hit the machine to make the ball, to move the machine so the ball would would move around on the upper playfield. Do you move the machine at all in Banzai Run when it's up in the back box?
Not so much on Banzai when it's up in the back box. No, you don't really need to nudge while it's up there. To be fair, Banzai is not really a machine. What you really need to nudge. That's probably why that's the loosest tilt. That's probably why I've got that one set as the loosest tilt.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's not one what you really need to nudge. Generally, I found it's the older games what you need to nudge. It's things like Paragon. You need to nudge as you go into like the beast. It's called the Beast Slayer by the lower area by the left out lane bumper. You need to nudge that back in. You need to learn to nudge that back into the ball back into play. If it goes down that area.
So is Banzai Run, is that your favorite? I know it's your preferred one at home. Is that your favorite ever game, Banzai Run?
It's personally it's my favorite. Yeah.
Oh, excellent.
It was my 18th. It was my 18th birthday present as well.
Oh, was it?
Yes, it was. Yeah.
Who got you that?
It was my mum and my grandmother who bought me that. So I actually saw it for sale in the my birthday's in August. But actually, in the April, I actually saw it for sale in the coin slot paper. It actually came through. I can actually remember the day. It came running through to the kitchen, shouting at Mum, "There's a Banzai for sale in coin slot!" They were quite a rare game, and it had been my firm favourite. You didn't see them for sale very often, even back then. It's been a firm favourite of mine all the time. I always said if we see one, we'll try and get one for you. I can still remember running through to the kitchen shouting. I think my mum's face just almost hit the floor as I showed the for sale advert. She was like, okay, well, okay, just let me have a word with my grandmother who works out the finances and make sure we can afford this thing. And then 5 minutes later, she came down. She said, we'll get it for you. Yeah.
So did you phone them up? Did you phone them up straight away?
Yeah. It was for sale from the UDC from Electricoin. So.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So did that get delivered, or did you have to go and get it?
No, they brought it up. They brought it up for us. This was before I even drove. This was for me 18th birthday. So this was before I passed my test.
Yeah, well, get your priorities right. Who needs a car when you've got a Banzai Run? You know.
Exactly.
Did you wait until your actual birthday, or did you start playing it as soon as it was delivered?
No, I have to admit I started playing it as soon as it was delivered.
No, I suspected as much.
Yeah, you can't exactly wrap a pinball machine up, and you can't keep pinball. She's going to get me from that. That would have been cruel.
Well, I don't. Yeah, a little bit cruel. I might have tried to wrap it. But there's no disguising it, is there? The shape of it, you couldn't disguise it. And you know what the present was. Oh, that's really, really good. How often do you change machines in your collection, or do they pretty much stay that sort of standard 16?
I kind of change machines just every now and then. If there's a new one out, my newest machine is the Stern Jurassic Park.
Sure.
I bought myself that because I played the game out on site, and I think it was like probably the best of the modern games. So I kind of just decided that was the one what I wanted. I'd set myself though a limit of one in, one out, because otherwise it's going to be like the old days when we were just literally overrun with them. We used to have to walk sideways down a hallway to get in.
How many did you used to have?
I've had over 20. I've had over 20. I don't exactly know. I think the numbers crept up to about 25 at one point.
Okay.
I had I had a large collection of fruit machines as well. So
okay.
Overall, I must have had about 50 or 60 machines in the house at one time. It was yeah. You literally couldn't move.
Oh well, at least you got it. Well done. Good discipline to get it down to 16. And how have you since you got it home, was Jurassic Park as good as you thought it was? Have you enjoyed that?
It was better. It was one which even grew on which even grew on me when I got it home, got it set up. I tweaked a couple of little things just to make it, just to get it to my standard, to get the opened up the outlane posts, made it a bit tighter. And it's the challenge of that game though. That is it's a challenge. What's driving me back to keep playing it.
What is there one particular bit that's driving you on to play it? Is there one? Are you good on one bit and trying to work out another?
The thing what's driving me back to play that is to try and make the final wizard mode, which is when dinosaurs rule the world.
Yeah.
Which, yeah, it's it's tough.
Well, if you're saying it's tough, yeah, I think look, if the world number 27 saying it's tough, it's got to be tough. What's your best score on that?
My best score on that is a rather measly 1.7 billion. I have to admit, and I would say rather measly, but then I have got because I know people who've scored 3, 4, 5, 6 billion on the Jurassic Park 2, but I have got it on the toughest settings. So
yeah, okay.
But, yeah.
But how does that? I mean, so for instance, how having something on the toughest settings? What if you go and play it elsewhere and it's not on the toughest settings? Do you adjust quite quickly?
Well, that's kind of adjusting backwards. That's
yes.
If it's going from tougher to easier, that's a lot easier adjustment than going the other way. It's a lot harder to adjust from easy into difficult. So it's not something, if you wanted to practice, it's not something what you really, it's not really something what you want to, that's not really the way you want to go. You want to have a game set tough, and then you know what to expect. They're not going to be set easy in a serious competition, are they? So
no. Well, I don't know. I'll try working on that one. I still set mine up pretty easy because I'm not very good. But when did you start to get into pinball? Because you were very young.
I was very, very, very young. I do believe I was 2 years old when I played my first machine, which yes, it's kind of before my memory, to be honest.
Sure.
It was a story that my mum told me. Was apparently I just walked up to a machine in one of our local arcades in Southport, which was an 8-ball. It was an 8-ball champ. They had 3 machines. They had 8-ball champ. They had Beat the Clock, and they had Mr. and Mrs. Pac-Man. Obviously, they were all fairly recent. They were all fairly recent games at the time. I played the. I can just like very, very, very vaguely remember my first game. I'm playing the 8-ball champ. Apparently, she said I was really, really good. She said I just looked like I wanted a game. She let me have a game. She said I was really, really good and really in tune with it. By the time I got a little bit older, I've started the time the memory kicks in if you like.
Yeah.
My earliest memories are kind of like going when I used to play all the then modern games in the amusement arcades when we went on holiday, or if we had a Sunday up in Blackpool somewhere.
Sure.
By the time it got to like 5 years old, I was full into
Okay.
pinball. had my favorite games then.
Really? What were they? Give us a couple of your favorite games when you were 5.
When I was 5, favorite game was Banzai, of course.
Yeah,
I know that's just been my lifelong favorite.
Yeah.
The other games which there was an arcade in St Ives, which
in Cornwall.
In Cornwall, yeah. We used to. That's where we used to go on holiday, and I remember the games what they had were the ones what tended to inspire me a lot, the most. They had Banzai, they had Haunted House, they had Spirit. There was 8-Ball Deluxe. Strange Science was quite a new one then, which is not, it's not quite. That's quite a simple game, but as a new one. I just love to get in that the five ball multi-ball on that. Was something what drove me into wanting to play that. There was things like Escape from the Lost World was a firm favourite as well. Just used to love having to knock the drop targets down, get across the goal bridge, and get to the gate up on the top. It was simple things. These were the days before mode play became a thing. Sure. One of the best memories I have is watching the unboxing of a brand new Terminator 2 in the Blackpool arcade. Basically, we'd gone in the arcade. There was like just a line of machines. In the middle of the line of machines was this big massive box.
Sure.
With Williams Pinball written on. I also remember as like I must have been like a 6-year-old kid, and it was one of the most fantastic things was watching the mum unbox setup, and we waited for a game, and I was first punted to play that game.
Brilliant. Yeah. Well, no one's going to push a 6-year-old child out of the way. It's no. Oh, that's so. I mean, I bet that was an amazing thing to see. Certainly an unboxing. When do you think because obviously I can tell by your enthusiasm that obviously you just stayed with pinball throughout the years. It's clearly stayed with you. Yes. When do you think you realised you could actually own a pinball machine? Do you remember that at all? When it wasn't just something that would be in an arcade, it's something actually you might be able to have at your house.
Well, my mum had actually promised me a pinball machine when we moved house. We moved house in 1997, and that's when she bought my first machine, which was Spectrum. Which is 25 years on. I've still got the machine.
Fantastic.
That's the one what would never. That's not that. I think it's that and Banzai what would just never leave my collection.
Yeah.
Just purely for the sentimental value.
Of course.
An old friend of ours called Ray lived literally around the corner from where we had newly moved into. So it just kind of worked out. There was quite a few of the old timers will remember Ray Foster. We actually moved to a house which was literally around the corner from where he lived, and he was a really well known person within the community in those days. So we ended up somebody passed us on his number. We got in contact, and that's when that was the beginning of lots of machines to come. As we all know, they don't stop at one, do they?
No, they don't. And the funny thing is, we all get warned, and I was warned the first day. Yeah. And Neil ever brought a Popeye around his house, and he said, "Be careful, they breed." And I thought, no. But they do. I mean, and it's only space. What people. I can totally understand how people with unlimited space and unlimited money just get everything, because I think I would. And it gets to the point now where people say, what do you want for Christmas or what do you want for your birthday? No one can get me anything. Would you get somebody that has pinball machines? There's nothing as good in the world as a pinball machine. You might be able to get some balls or some feet or something, but realistically, you've already given yourself the best possible toy that there is to own. So when did you play your first? When did you here's the question: when did you realise that you were good at playing pinball rather than just enjoying it?
Well, somebody actually approached me on Blackpool Pleasure Beach, going back to when I was a kid, going back to when I was I must have been either 12 or 13. I was playing an Attack from Mars on Blackpool Pleasure Beach arcade, and somebody actually approached me and said you're one of the best pinball players I've ever seen. He got into conversation with me with my mum, and he introduced us to the Pinball Owners Association, the old POA, which again some of the old timers probably remember the days when we used to get pinball magazines once a month, or before we had phones, before we had internet.
I bet that was brilliant. Sorry, just to interrupt, because I've been there with other hobbies before the internet, and when that monthly magazine comes out, it's your only contact, isn't it, with something, and to read about new stuff. You must have loved that magazine.
It was a day. I couldn't wait for the magazine to come. For the magazine to come through. Back then. Yeah. Well, the feeling when somebody said, when somebody actually said, I think it was one of the best players. Especially when you're so young as well. It doesn't kind of sink in. It doesn't kind of sink in when you're younger. I ended up went to play my first competition, which was at the sports arena in Kettering in 1998, just shortly after we'd been introduced to the POA in that. And I ended up won the competition. which was the first one.
Brilliant! There you go. Why not? Brilliant.
And then obviously I just kind of the strange thing is, so I'd gone to that show not necessarily to compete. Sure. I'd gone to the show for the pinball and just to play. I just wanted to play all the old games, what weren't in the arcades anymore. I just wanted to play like all my old favourites, what had played growing up. And of course, I wanted to try the at the time the brand new ones, which were Monster Bash and Viper Night Driving.
Okay.
With the two brand new ones, we had one from Williams, we had one from it was Sega then. And yeah, it's I didn't actually want to go there necessarily for the competition. There, well, mum kind of said to me, "Go on, have a go at the competition." She kind of pushed me on and said, "You're really good. Have a go." So I said, "Oh, okay, go on then. I'll have a go." And obviously that's what. And obviously I won. Played it like a series of match plays. I got through to the final, and then I played the final on, which was probably on one of my strongest machines, which was the Getaway. So that kind of that really leaned in my favour. The fact that it was a machine which I knew inside out, and probably still one of the strongest machines I have.
I'm sorry, I'm laughing at the thought of this tournament being organised, and you rocking up. And you winning it. I wonder if the committee said to the guy that approached you in the arcade, why did you bring him along? Why is he here? I mean, amazing. And were you even at that? So I'm interested in a number of things actually, because obviously playing pinball on location, you have a set amount of money. And I'm pretty sure that when you were a child, you went to the arcade, your mum wasn't giving you as much money as you wanted. So were you trying? I wonder if you becoming good was you making that money last as long as possible. So did you? Were you really trying to have long games because you only had so much money with you?
Yes, we were. I used to have to try and play the games which were on 10p for 5 balls as well, which was a lot of the older games.
Sure.
Things like playing things like Banzai Run, which was on 50p play even back then. Was quite extortionate, but that was a treat. That was a treat. Sure. My challenge was to win the 3 games. My mum would pay for the game. And then the idea was I'd win a load of 3 games, and then she could join in.
Oh, okay. Did you get known in the arcades? You must, if you were there a lot, because you said about Southport. That's near where you live, right?
That's where I've lived since I was 12. Yeah.
And obviously there's arcades in Southport.
Lots of arcades, there were lots of arcades in Southport. Yeah.
Sure. So you must have got, even though I know you went to St Ives and you went to Blackpool and whatnot, and your local arcades, they must have known you in there as a kid.
They did. Yeah, they did get to know us quite. They got to know us quite well. They always knew how much I loved me and much I loved my pinball machines. I didn't really get into other arcade machines until a bit later in life. As a kid, I was always straight for the pinball machines. I always had my high scores. So,
did you ever go in sometimes into the arcade and think someone had knocked your score off?
We could do. So I remember doing that. I remember doing that even fairly quite recently. Well, I say fairly quite recently. Probably talking about 10 years ago, but I'm talking about like in adulthood. We had some games. We had some games that in one of the local arcades, Silcox, fairly recently. There were modern stern ones, things like Spider-Man and so. I also used to want to see if my name was still up there on the top.
Yeah, no, of course, absolutely, of course. And did you because it must have been, because I am always fascinated with the monetary value of it and putting the coins into the slot, so to speak. So it must have been, you must have got some free games along the way. There must have been occasions where a guy in the arcade, you must have had a friendly face in the arcade. You used to open up the door and press free play and shut it for you and say, "There you go, Andy, have a few games on me."
Yes, we did. Yes, we knew somebody very well from one of the local arcades, which had a Harlem Globetrotters inside.
Okay.
There was lots of Friday nights. What was spent after the arcade had closed.
Brilliant.
Just play in there. Probably talking of winning free games. There were one of my memories from growing up in there was a Monday night football, and which was a game you don't see very much of at all. But it's quite. There was a Monday night football in Blackpool's Coral Island, which played really, really easily. Pretty much every time I went in, I ended up clocked maximum credits. I clocked up 30 credits off 30p.
Oh, really?
We were politely asked to leave.
Yeah, well, yeah, because you could play all night for 30 pence.
Yeah, I'm not sure whether it was because it was getting towards the end of the night and they actually wanted to close the arcade, or whether it was because they thought we were fiddling, or because we were just saying, "Get out, you're too good."
Yeah, I think that one.
Or maybe a bit of all three. I don't know.
Yeah, quite possibly. So, do you? I mean, I love this because your enthusiasm, in many respects, is just a wonderful story. The whole lot. From you being, the 2-year-old to the 5-year-old, and for your childhood of loving pinball and the 18th birthday at the Banzai Run, I think it's all fantastic. And to take it all up to now, to go to the World Championships, the World Open or whatever it's called. It's a lovely story. I mean, it really is. So you still love, because that comes across, by the way, how much you love pinball. You still love pinball as much as you ever did, clearly.
I love pinball as much as they ever did. Yeah, I do. I still get excited when new games come out. I'm always keen to try the new games. obviously, as I get older, not everything's quite as exciting as it was, when he was a kid. But I've still got a lot of kid left. I've still got a lot of kid left in me. I still enjoy going to play the new games. I'm most enthusiastic, especially these days. Probably these days more so than like 10, 15 years ago. I did lose a little bit of interest because the games that were coming out weren't as, they weren't too, 15 years ago, the games that were bringing out, they weren't too good.
What in particular? Give us some examples of ones that you thought that's not great.
Well, it's probably actually it's going more like, I've lost my time scale here. It's probably going more like 20 years back. Things like Striker Extreme, High Roller Casino, some of the late Segas, the early Sterns.
I know it's something you mean. Yeah.
They were kind of pushing. I remember I can remember when those kind of games were coming out. I was just thinking, what is this? What are they? What were we doing? Obviously, thankfully, I think the big kick up the backside, if you like, came when Jersey Jack came on the scene, and I think Stern obviously knew they had to up the game, and thank God they did, because you're bringing out really both manufacturers and of course all the smaller manufacturers as well. There's a lot of people bringing out really nice games now. I think it's good that we've got that we've got a bit of competition. We've got a bit of competition going. I think that's brought it back around to making better quality games. So
yeah, no, I totally agree. I mean, you say the High Roller Casino. I don't know as much about the timeline of games as you do, but certainly I looked at games like Wheel of Fortune and things like that, and there was just no appeal. And the shots could have been very good. I don't know. That game might have good shots. I don't know, but I just looked at it. There's no appeal for me. Whereas because I'm quite late to play in, basically, you won't know, but I played Theatre of Magic almost exclusively for 15 years. I didn't really know about almost any other pinball machines. It was just that. That's all I knew. So I'm discovering now all these pinball machines, and so I've only ever played 2 or 3 games on Monster Bash. So I've really seen Monster Bash for the first time very recently, and I look at it and I think, oh wow, I just want more of this. I actually really want one of those games. I want to play, I want to explore it because it's attractive, the whole theme and the monsters and Dracula and Frankenstein's monster, and it's just an appeal to it, which I look back on those games, I think, which you're alluding to, and I think that would have, I think it was, there were some lazy titles there, and if what you're saying is, because Jersey Jack were the first ones to do the screen, weren't they? When the Wizard of Oz, which meant Stern had to do something. Is that right?
It is, yeah. That's kind of what I think. I think Wizard of Oz was like the turning point for the good. I think that's where they came. I think that's where they realised, we're better. We're better up our game. Up our game a bit. Wizard of Oz was probably the one which really made me want a new machine. I really wanted. Unfortunately, I didn't buy. I didn't buy it. New in box. I waited a few years. Down the line to get mine. But I can remember when I saw the photographs, when I saw the pictures on the internet of Wizard of Oz. It was the first time it just made me go. It was the first machine from a long while ago, which just made me go, wow.
I bet it did. Yeah, because it was a different. It was a different standard, wasn't it, to what was coming out, and it was almost like he had Jersey Jack. It's like he had dreamed, hadn't he? And he with all these wonderful things on the playfield. Was it? And they still do it. They still do cram lots of wonderful things under that glass. Jersey Jack do. Was it as good when you got it as you imagined it might be?
When I first played Wizard of Oz, I was really bitterly disappointed.
Oh, really?
Unfortunately, yes, because the first time I played it, there was no code. It had been released with very little code, So it was literally just flipping. It was like literally just flipping the ball about, and it spoiled it for me. It popped. It kind of popped. I must admit, it kind of popped my bubble. I thought it's not as good. It's not as good as what I thought. When they finished, when they did finally finish the code, and they played it with a finished code, that drove me over the edge to want one, to want one again. But obviously, the machine was a few years, the machine was already a few years old by by then. I always think with that particular game, it's just a shame that they didn't finish the code as it left the factory, like they used, like it did like they did in the older days.
Sure.
Because I always think that could have been, that could have been the big whoosh if you like. But,
yeah. So it was almost had all the ramps and all the lights and everything, but there was really no game there. But a lot of them now, and perhaps not as bad as that, a lot of them now do release the game without the code being finished, don't they? So
I think we just got used to it.
I think you're right. I think you're right. So as I understand it, they've just really very recently, within the last few days, fleshed out the Godzilla code. And now, but I've seen games before where there was even certain targets or certain shots that wouldn't trick, they hadn't even been used yet in the code. So when you're running early versions of the code, but it's never bothered me too much because I never get to that part of the code. Anyway, I tend to have very, very, very short games on anything. So what's the future hold for you, Andy, in terms of in terms of the tournament play? Let's just get back to that. What are you looking to do? How's the next year or two looking in terms of what you'd like to do with the tournaments and that sort of thing?
Well, this year's going to be looking really, really very, very, very busy. I'm going back over to do the Texas Pinball Festival. I'm part of the Texas Wizards tournament.
Sure.
Over there, so that's in just over 4 weeks. So that's another USA journey.
Wow. Okay.
We've got there's a possibility there might be a competition in April, and then I've got the IFPA World Championships to do in Florida in May, which is 2 years postponed.
So another trip to the States this year.
So it's going to be 3 trips to the States before June, before halfway through the year.
Wow,
it's busy.
Wow, and what's happening in April? What's the tournament then?
I'm not sure yet. I've just heard rumours that somebody might be making the tournament up in just over here. Somebody might be making the tournament up in April. So.
Okay. So you say just over here. It still makes a difference to most people where it is, but obviously it wouldn't matter to you if it was in Cornwall or Scotland or anything else. You just travel anywhere to play pinball, weren't you? If
it was over here, I would. Yes, yeah. I'm having to watch. I'm having to watch me thinking with three journeys over to the States. And of course, we've got the Northeast Gaming Show, which I'm going to go over to in the summertime. We've also got Daventry as well, which is obviously the big one. I'm all booked in for Daventry now.
Good.
Forward to that. That's a definite. With all these things and amongst other things, amongst non-pinball things, I've got 2 stag nights to go on. Everybody's getting married after the pandemic.
Selfish.
So I've got two weddings, 2 stag nights to go on, which are both abroad as well. So it's really with everything. I'm kind of like thinking it's going to be November. I've kind of got away every month until November.
You're almost a foreigner. Let's be honest. You're away so much. That's look, that's really, really good to hear. Andy, listen, mate, it's been, I've got to say, mate, 55 minutes just flown by. I know. There you go. I told you. We'll just talk about pinball and then everything just flows from there. It's been a real pleasure talking to you, mate. I love the story. I really do. I look forward. I look forward to following you closely on everything you're doing and all your trips abroad and everything. I'm looking forward to hopefully watching you climb those rankings a bit. You're clearly massively passionate about your pinball. I'll look forward to seeing you. Certainly, I saw you at Neil's. I don't. You possibly don't remember. We played at we were playing Stranger Things, and I was even watching the way you were doing the orbits and then slapping the side of the machine to make sure it didn't hit the slings. And I was thinking, oh yeah, okay, I'm watching that. Didn't help me. Just a spoiler. Andy won. He definitely beat me. But it's been a real pleasure talking to you, my friend. Thanks for making the journey over as well, mate.
Oh, that's no problem. It was I could talk so much more. I could tell you so much more. Unfortunately,
I'll tell you what would be nice to do, if it's okay. Then is when we get to Daventry, what I'd certainly love to do for the channel is maybe we can get you on a couple of games, and is that all right? Record you on a couple of games.
Yeah, that would be fun.
And then have another chat as well, like a face-to-face chat, and I think that'd be really good to have a catch up, really. And mate, are you gonna donate a game? Do you think to the to Daventry again?
I always do. Yeah, I always bring a full van full down, so I'll be bringing full Luton down. So
quite right. Well, maybe it might be nice if you don't mind, because we've got Matt's been on this channel. And he's done the Big Lebowski, but I think we want to get Matt on to do a game that he knows well, a tutorial on it. Craig's done Star Wars on this channel as a tutorial how to do it. Maybe it might be nice to get you on your favourite game and we can film it and talk us through and give a tutorial on whatever game you choose.
I'd love to. By the time Daventry comes around, I'll have been to the World Championships. I'll have been to Texas. I'll have been to a lot of these shows as well. So there'll be a lot more. There'll be a lot more to talk about, and there'll be lots more to tell by then. I'd love to.
Oh, mate, listen, I can't wait. We'll definitely do that. That's a date. I look forward to seeing you then. And I just want to say a massive thank you, because Andy has actually gone round to Ian's house, by the way, so as he can use Ian's computer, because it's all linked up with the one here. So thanks for making the journey down. Thank you to Ian. As I understand, he's cooking a pork belly today. He's out in the kitchen in his pinny, in his apron, nothing else, just his apron, cooking a pork belly. So thank you very much. And I'll catch up with you next time. To everybody else, sorry that there was the lack of a video last week. We've got 2 or 3 more coming up. Of course, we'll be ramping it up before Pinfest. Absolutely will be. There's lots more going on before then. Not a lot happening in the pinball world in terms of new releases. I feel it's gone a little bit stagnant in terms of people getting new machines, and there doesn't seem to be a lot of second-hand machines up for sale at the moment. So hopefully there'll be an injection of new releases, new machines, new stuff to film. Certainly I've got a load of archive stuff that I want to be getting up here very, very soon anyway. Andy, thank you, my friend.
Thanks very much. Likewise.
Thank you very much indeed. If you haven't done so already, please do subscribe to the channel. And if you'd be so kind as to link it and share it on various social media platforms, it would be very, very much appreciated.